What's going on, everybody? You guys don't know me, and that's all right. Everybody's got to start somewhere. So, first of all, my name's Rick. 38 years old. I'll be 39 in about 2 weeks, and I'm just not happy with my life. So, with that said, I want to talk to you about the F word. Now, a lot of people hear me say that, and they think that I'm talking about F-U-C-K. That is not the F word that I am talking about. The F word that I am talking about is fail, or failure. Failing and failure makes so many people give up, stop what they're doing, and just completely abandon their dreams and their goals. And it's sad. I have failed numerous times in my life, and the reason why I can say that people let those failures make them give up is because I allowed my failures to get in my way and to make me give up. I finally got to the point where I said, you know what? This has got to change, and this has got to stop. I cannot continue allowing failure to dictate my life, because if I do so, I'm going to continue down the path that I am on. A lot of people fail at different things. Some people fail at math. Some people fail at, achieving some kind of record in a sport that they're in. And you know what? It's like, that's fine. I'm going to tell you this right now. Algebra, I hate algebra. And I have failed multiple times at algebra tests, at homeworks. But let me explain why I failed and why people as a whole fail. People fail. Let's algebra, for example. It is not the test's fault that you failed that test. It is not the teacher or the professor's fault that you failed that test. And it's not math's fault that you failed that test. The reason why you failed that test is because of you. We live in a society, and this might hurt somebody, I apologize, but the truth hurts sometimes. We live in a society that everybody wants to blame the external thing. Everybody wants to blame the test. Everybody wants to blame the professor. Everybody wants to blame the math. And that's just not realistic. That's just not reality. The reality is, there are people who got 100 on that test. There are people who aced that test. So it's not the test, or it's not the professor, or it's not the math, because if it was the professor, if it was the test, if it was the math, everybody would fail. But everybody doesn't fail. Everybody does fail at life at one point. What I mean is, everybody didn't fail that algebra test. So what made you fail that test? You made you fail that test. What makes anybody fail at life, their job, whatever they're wanting to achieve? You are what makes you fail that. And the reason that is because we don't take failure for what it is. Instead of taking failure for a learning opportunity, and instead of taking failure for a chance to find what we did wrong, to see what we did wrong, and to correct it and try again, we blame everything else, and we blame everybody else that we have no effect on. Okay? You do, however, have an effect on yourself. So when you fail that algebra test, you know what you do? You say to yourself, you know what? It's time that I start studying more. It's time that I go to the teacher and I ask for some extra help after school. It's time that I go to that kid that got 100 on the algebra test and I make friends with that kid. Now, a lot of people, I'm older. I graduated high school in 1998. And in today's society, I'm going to tell you this. In 1998, when I graduated high school, all the kids that everybody teased and made fun of, oh, you're a dork, you're a nerd, you're a geek. You know what those guys are doing? Those guys are making money, those guys are successful, and those guys are happy. Why are those guys doing those things? Because they don't care that you called them a geek. They don't care that you called them a nerd. They don't care that you said they were a dork. What they cared about was being successful, and that's what they are. More kids today than I've ever seen in my life, and I'm talking kids, middle school kids, commit suicide because they're bullied. Think about that for a minute. Middle school kids, 10, 11, 12, 13, up to 15, 16-year-old kids and high school kids are killing themselves, committing suicide because they are being bullied. Why is that acceptable? Okay? Why do we allow these kids to feel so helpless at 11, 12, 13 years old that there's no other option in life than to kill themselves? And that's simply because we're afraid of speaking the truth. We're afraid of telling those kids that are bullying to knock it off. We're afraid to stick up for that kid because you know what? Maybe if we stick up for that kid, somebody's going to make fun of us. You know what? Let somebody make fun of me. If I saved somebody's life because I stood up for them and somebody made fun of me, I don't care. You know what? Because maybe that kid who I stuck up for, maybe for that kid I defended, maybe they grow up and they cure cancer. But you know what? We'll never know now. Why? Because they killed themselves. But I'm digressing. So let me get back to what you need to do. So, like I said, you need to study for that test. You need to go to the professor or the teacher. You need to ask for help. You need to make friends with that kid that got 100 on that algebra test. And I guarantee you this. If you do that, you will not fail the next algebra test. It's the same thing in life. Like I said earlier, I'm 38 years old. I'm by no means successful. I am by no means famous whatsoever. But what I am is I am tired of failing, but I've also learned that my failures can be successes. Les Brown, one of my all-time favorite motivational speakers, an amazing guy. I mean, I listen to him speak and I literally get emotional. And I don't get emotional because I'm sad. I don't get emotional because, I am a baby or whatever. I get emotional because I'm passionate. And people need to be passionate about not only their lives, but their dreams. If people committed as much as they do to their successes, as they do to their failures, this world would be a much better place. Think about this. People who tell you something, okay? Somebody might call you fat. Somebody might call you ugly. Somebody might call you stupid, right? We, for whatever reason, believe that. We believe it, but turn that around. Somebody comes up to us and says, hey man, you look great. You losing weight? Hey, I really like that dress. You look really pretty. Hey, great job on that algebra test. You're wicked smart. We don't believe it. We allow ourselves to destroy ourselves. Why? Why do we do that? We listen to negative things and we believe them. But positive things we don't accept. We don't believe. And that is why we fail. That is why we're not successful. We are not successful and we fail because we don't allow ourselves to. So like I said, back to that algebra test. You go, you ask the teacher for help. You go, you make friends with that kid who got 100. You study. Now you understand it. You pass that test. Same thing with life. Like I said, I'm 38, almost 39 years old. I've been in EMS for the last 20 years. And as much as I love the job, as much as it's a commendable job, I've saved lives, I've delivered babies, I've done great things. It's just not who I am, and it's not my dream, and it's not my goal. I would love to write a book. I would love to be the next Les Brown, the next Eric Thomas, the next C.T. Fletcher. But for whatever reason, I've allowed myself to talk myself out of those things for the last 20 years. So right now, I'm 38 years old, I'm in college, and I'm trying to better myself. It's not easy. I work 60 hours a week. I go to school two days a week from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. I have a 12-year-old daughter who I get on the weekends, and it's not easy. It is not easy at all. I don't make a lot of money. I drive a 1998 Lincoln Navigator with 187,000 miles on it. And the reason why I do that is because that's what I accepted. That's what I've allowed to happen in my life. So what I wanted to do by making this video is a couple things. One, I wanted to make this video because, like I said, I would love to be a motivational speaker, and I would love to be the next Les Brown. So you got to start somewhere. So why not YouTube? And I don't know if anybody will watch this video, but what I do know is if one person watches this video, and if one person can get what I'm trying to get across, that's all that matters to me. Because the reality is, those who can't do teach, right? So you get a football player who's been injured and he can no longer play football. He coaches. Why? Because it is important to him that even though he can't play football anymore, he keeps football in his life. And he takes all the skills and all the knowledge and he passes it on to somebody who can use it. Now, Les Brown, which he got this from somebody else, he said, imagine you're in your deathbed. All your dreams, all your aspirations, everything you ever wanted to do that you didn't do, come to you. And they say, why? Why are you letting us die with you? We came to you. Only you could have brought us to fruition, and you didn't. So why am I making this video? Because I don't want to be on my deathbed and say why. I live by the notion that I would much rather try and fail than wonder what if. Because let me tell you something, regret will eat you alive. I went down to University of Miami in 1998-2000, and I wanted to play football there. Everybody that I knew, despite a few people, mostly my mom and a good friend of mine, told me that I would not be able to do that. I did go down to University of Miami. I did try out for the football team, and unfortunately, due to financial aid issues, I couldn't stay there. I just didn't have enough money. They called me into the financial aid office one day and they said, hey, listen, your one of your loans didn't go through, you weren't approved, so unless you can come up with $15,000, you know, you're gonna have to go home. That failure has haunted me my entire life. And what I didn't realize back then is that failure, which I didn't see it as what it is, but I looked at the negative. What I didn't look at is the positive. I didn't look at the positive of that I actually went down there, tried out, and the only reason I wasn't still there is because I didn't get the financial aid. Now, it is what it is. I mean, I believe that sometimes things don't happen because something greater is supposed to happen. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, another guy that I just love listening to his videos. I love watching him on Instagram. I even buy some of his shirts from Under Armour. He said not playing football was the greatest thing that never happened for him. Imagine if The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, did become a football player. He was never a wrestler. He was never the movie star that he is today. So sometimes the path that we go down isn't necessarily the path that we chose, but it's the path we are supposed to be on for whatever reason. Now, religiously, I don't know what you believe. You know, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you need to believe in yourself, and you need to understand that no matter what, as long as you have breath in your lungs, you have an opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is up to you. You can go to a job every day that you hate because it gives you a paycheck, because it allows you to pay your bills, because you feel like that you don't have any other options. That is one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard in my life. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. How do you think you are going to become rich and successful if you allow yourself to work the same minimum wage job every day for the rest of your life? It is just not going to happen. So what you need to do is, whatever the risk may be, let me tell you this too. I was homeless, okay? And I was homeless while I had a job. I was homeless while I had a car, while I was in school. So I was doing everything that I needed to do. I was working, I was going to school, I was trying to make myself better, but things happened in life and I ended up homeless. I lived in my car for a couple months, and I went to work, saved my money, and I finally got a place, which I love, I'm happy at. But it's not where I want to be. It's not my end game, but it's better than where I was. And that's the key to being successful, and that's the key to getting where you want. It's the small steps that are going to get you to your destination. When you climb a mountain, you can't just go from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. You have to climb that mountain step by step, okay? So yeah, I don't live in the house that I want to live in. I don't drive the car that I want to drive, but I'm not homeless anymore. I don't take the bus anymore, okay? So progression is success, but we don't realize that. We don't realize that because the progression that we've made isn't the end result that we want. So instead of saying, you know what, I'm making success, I'm reaching to where I want to be, I'm headed towards where I want to be, we don't see that because it's not the end, okay? We don't see that the progression we made is the steps that we're taking towards where we want to be. So what we do is we get down on ourselves. We make ourselves believe that we're not good enough. We're not getting to where we want to be. We're not doing the things we want to do. And that's just absolutely ridiculous, because you are making progress. You are getting yourself to a point where you can be better. So that's something that you need to understand. You need to understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. I don't know who said that, so I apologize. But it's the truth. But look at what Rome was. So your life can be where you want to be, but what you have to realize, and this is of utmost importance, you have to realize that it's not going to happen overnight. Easy come, easy go. So if you think that you make one advancement in your life, that's all it takes, you've already set yourself up for failure. And the problem with that is that instead of us understanding that failure was a learning process in the steps of success and the steps of progress, we take that failure and we let it control us. We let that failure determine where we go from that point on. Now, what I'm trying to say is that you do need to let that failure determine where you go. You do need to take that failure and use it as something that's going to put you in a position. But instead of doing it the way that you do, you need to do it in a positive manner. So instead of failing, so you apply for a job, you don't get that job. Why don't you get that job? Who knows? Maybe it's because they wanted a degree that you don't have. Maybe it's because they were looking for somebody who has a higher degree than you have. Here's the thing. We look at that and we let it determine where we go from there. We look at that and we say, okay, you know what? We didn't get that job, so I'm going to just give up and take something else. What you need to do is you need to take that failure of not getting that job and do what you need to do to get that job. So if that job requires a bachelor's and you have an associate's, go get a bachelor's. If you have a bachelor's and that job requires a master's degree, go get that master's degree. It's all in how bad do you want it. Do you really want that job or do you not want that job? Because if you don't want the job, then sure, when they say, sorry, we're looking for somebody else, walk away. You know, it wasn't meant to be. But if you want that job, do whatever it takes to get that job. I'm talking from experience, you know, so everybody out there can say, you know, you're 38 years old, you're not even happy with your own life. You know, you could point out all the negative things because that's what people like to do. People like to put other people down because it makes themselves feel better about themselves. And that's a sad thing, you know, because instead of putting somebody else down, pick them up. You know why? Because by you picking them up, you're picking yourself up. By you making them a better person, you're making yourself a better person. There's another thing that I read on Facebook that I believe is true. I don't know who says it. But it says the only time you should look down on somebody is when you're helping them up. And when I read that, I mean, the things that it set off in my mind, you know, and I realized that my whole life I've been trying to pick other people up and I've been trying to save other people, and in that process I haven't picked myself up and I haven't saved myself. So that's when I realized, you know what, I'm better than that. You know, my happiness is important to me, and I've made so many other people's lives good that I can make my own life good. And unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it, it just took me a little longer to realize it. So what I plan on doing is I plan on, you know, posting this video and posting a bunch of other videos as things come to my mind and as things, you know, motivate me, because what I want to do is I want to motivate other people. And I want you guys to realize that even though I'm not rich, even though I'm not successful in the eyes of society and in my own eyes, that doesn't mean that I cannot be. So by making this video, what I'm trying to prove to people and what I'm trying to show people is that if you have a passion and you have breath in your lungs, you need to do whatever it takes to make that a reality. So I'm going to say this in conclusion, and I will post another video at another time, Les Brown, he said, shoot for the stars. Even if you miss, you will land among the stars. He might have said it a little differently. I'm sorry, Les, my bad. He said, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. So think about that for a minute. Make an effort. Make an attempt. Because even if you don't end up where you want to be per se, you've progressed and you've made your situation that much better. So as long as you keep taking those little successes, those little efforts, and those little advancements and continue with those, they're going to be your end game. You take those little steps up the mountain. Eventually, those little steps are going to put you at the top of the mountain and the view is going to be spectacular. But if you don't take those steps and if you don't keep going, you're never going to reach the summit and you're never going to see that view. So every day you wake up, you need to tell yourself, today I am going to do something to progress myself to get to the top of that mountain and to see that view. I have a mentality that I live, and it's called ADDED. All day, every day. ADED. If you want to be successful, you need to add that to your life. It needs to be added to your goals. It needs to be added to your daily regimen. Because all day, every day, you need to be doing whatever it is that you need to do to get to where you want to be. If you want to be successful in algebra, studying needs to be added to your daily regimen. All day, every day, you need to study. If you want to be successful in business, you need to find what's going to make you successful, and every day that needs to be added to your daily regimen. All day, every day, you need to do what you need to do to get your business to be successful. So all day, every day, whatever it is that you need to do to be successful needs to be added all day, every day to your daily regimen, to your life. So I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, and this is my first video, so I apologize for, it not being perfect. But I promise you this, it'll get better. And if you guys stick with me, and if you guys keep watching my videos, and if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to talk about, leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you. But I really, one of the things that I was told by a preceptor when I got a job on an ambulance company is, in order to be a good paramedic, you do your job well. In order to be a great paramedic, you teach others how to be a good paramedic as well. So I feel like in order for me to be great, I need to help somebody else be great. If I'm eating, you're eating. So like I said, guys, I really hope that you take the time to watch my videos. I apologize for it not being the greatest, but I will get there, and hopefully you could all be as motivated as I am. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you all soon. All right, bye.